live, no? Just before going live.
Yes, ma'am. We are, ma'am, within 60 seconds we'll be online.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll be on mute on that time, ma'am, please.
So, odane aaramchudlam illaya? Immediately I can start, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
You are live, ma'am. You are live.
Namaskaram. My name is Deepa Chakravarti, and I welcome you all to the Ethics from Epics, the 11th edition of Disha Bharat's monthly talk series. Before we proceed to the talk, allow me to do some introductions, starting with Disha Bharat. Disha Bharat is a 20-year-old non-profit social initiative that was started in 2005 in Bengaluru. Today, its chapters are in Chennai, Telangana, Gujarat, and many more. When it started, its main objective was to provide a value-based education program. Over the years, Disha Bharat's Personality Development Program, or PDP, conducted for college students on the theme Know Yourself, Know Your Country, Know Your Culture, has been very transformational. Along with the PDPs, Disha Bharat runs many social campaigns like the Champions of Change that are not just creating social awareness, but are also empowering students, providing a platform for them to engage in community activities and social work. The Ethics from Epic that we are gathered here today is also another initiative of Disha Bharat that aims to explore the classical epics Mahabharata and Ramayana and bring relevance for finding new age interpretations of dharma in law and order, social responsibility, sustainability, and even moral dilemmas. We have had stellar personalities and academic luminaries in the likes of J. Sai Deepak and Professor Emeritus B. Mahadevan. In fact, today's speaker, Dr. J.S. Rajkumar Sankaran, is no less in his accomplishments. Here's a brief into his journey. Dr. Rajkumar specializes in surgical gastroenterology. He is among the pioneers in laparoscopic surgery with special expertise in many complex procedures. In addition, he is also a pioneer in stem cell therapy. He has published many academic articles and books. While his academic works are for a niche, his published book, Orujan Ulagam, which translates as A World That Is Just 9 Inches, is a book on gastroenterology written in Tamil only for the common man. Among his non-surgical works, he has published a collection of poetry and prose, scalpel scribbles, heroes on freedom fighters, and The Patriot Who Attacked Madras, the story of Champakaraman. I'm sure this list will be of great interest to many of us here. Dr. Rajkumar is engaging in many philanthropic activities, and his interests are in yoga, music, and literature. He is now fulfilling the role as the chairman and chief of surgeon for the Lifeline Hospital. Doctor, the Disha Bharat team and family are delighted to have you here today for Ethics from Epics lectures. Dear Disha Bharat members and guests, Dr. Rajkumar will be delivering a talk on Bharat's Trusteeship, a model of responsible leadership for modern times. Doctor, I invite you to take the center stage.
Thank you much, Deepa, for a very thoughtful and generous introduction. I want to thank Disha Bharat for having me on, and especially Dr. Venkatamani. Earlier, I'm speaking from Dubai, and I hope there's no glitch. I'm here at the National Arab Health Conference without wasting any time, because I know that there are a lot of you out there who would like to share this journey of knowledge along with me. Without any ado, I will start straight away by saying research on Bharata and what Bharata stood for in the Rama. And lo and behold, there's a lot of data that I was easily, along with Shatrugna, the least recognized of the brothers in the Ramayana. For a start, did you all know that he's the only one with only one temple in his name all over India? Even Shatrugna has got 4 or 5 temples, but Bharata is actually a very great personality, has only one. So I'd like to, like Stephen Covey says, begin at the end and then work your way backwards. Why is that? Because in the Valmiki Ramayana, and I've read the Valmiki Ramayana part of Bharata as well as the Kamba Ramayana, which I will quote accordingly. Rama actually says, on taking the kingdom back from him after the Vanvas, after 14 years, Rama says, there need not be any temples for Bharata because Bharata is now part of me. Wherever there is a Rama temple, that is automatically a Bharata temple. Whatever was Bharata Rajya is practically Rama Rajya. So if one needed to argue, did Bharata do justice as a ruler? There's one statement by Rama saying that Bharata Rajya is equivalent to Rama Rajya is enough to say that he was an excellent ruler. But a few more points here. In 1994, the Gorakhpur Gita Press, they brought out an edition that was it is dedicated to the Rama Kudumba. And what they found was there were 217 articles. There are articles on Ravana's children. There are articles on everybody else. But for some unknown reason, not a single article on Bharata. So I'm very happy that Disha Bharat has actually brought this up. Go back to the statues. There are thousands, hundreds of thousands of statues of Rama, of all the others, of Lakshmana along with Rama, Sita, of Shatrugna too, but only one statue from the 14th century Vijayanagara dynasty for Bharata. So some fairly big injustices have been done to Bharata, and we should know about that before we jump in. And where is this one temple for Bharata? Those of you who ever go to Kerala, there's a place called Nalambala, or 4 temples. There's one temple for Rama, one for Bharata, one for Shatrugna, and one for Lakshmana, and that is the only known temple to Bharata in India. Also, if you look at the books, various books of the Rama Kathas, he has been treated with a lot of respect by Kambar, by Valmiki, and very importantly, by Tulsidas. But apart from that, between then, Kamba Ramayana was in the 13th century, and now there's only one book called the Pratima Natika, in which Bharata features. So my first point that I want to tell all of you is, it seems that a fairly big injustice has been done knowingly or unwittingly to Bharata. I move on from there to why Rama? What is so special about Rama? You can't read 2 pages of the Ramayana, even if it's about Bharata, without falling in love over and over and over with the depth, the grace, the compassion, and the love of Rama. The Maryada Purushottam, the perfect man. So, when Dasratha, I'd just like to nip back a little bit, say when Dasratha appointed, called the courtiers and said, I think I'm growing old. I think I'd like to pass on the mantle, the crown, and the scepter to Rama. They all immediately said, oh, yes, of course. Please give it to Rama. And then Dasratha does something very nice. He says, this is rubbish. I don't want chamchagiri. This chinchak, they'll say in Tamil Nadu. I don't want chamchagiri. Give me proper reasons why Rama should rule. And then the next day, the courtiers gather and they give a beautiful list of reasons why Rama should, and forgiveness. We all pray for him every day, especially the women of Kosala and Ayodhya pray for his welfare. And any person for whose welfare the women pray throughout the Vishnu's avatars. There's Rama or Krishna, the women used to pray for him. So the courtiers say in the Valmiki Ramayana, anybody for whom the women pray, he is automatically the right man. Then he says, he knows when to punish, he knows when to forgive. He always respects the learned, he respects the elders, he is loved by one and all. Even his killing, when he kills people, his killings are righteous. And every single one of these factors, because which Dasarada says, I like these points. This is the reason why I'm also going to appoint Rama. Every one of these, my dear friends, also applies to Bharata. Because if you look at the state of the country in which Dasarada gave to Rama, and then before Rama could take it, Bharata had to run it. And then when Bharata gives it back after 14 years, he says this beautiful shloka in the Valmiki Ramayana. He says, Etat te sakalam rajyam nyasam niri vitate maya avekshatam. And then please check. He says, here I'm giving you back the sakalam rajyam, the entire rajyam. Okay? Nyasam niripite maya, the way you gave it to me. Avekshatam bhavam. Pray, please, just check. Kosham, Kostagaram, Graham, Balam. Which means check. Graham is house, Balam is a strength in the army, Kosham and the Kostagaram are the treasury, Kostagaram, and the granaries. Please note that the granaries, the homes, the treasuries, and the army are, and this I would like all of you to remember, 10 times larger than when I took it over from you 14 years ago. And this itself is one of the most important proofs that Bharata ruled exactly like Ramaraja. It was Bharata Raja. Quickly, I'm going to switch back again to Rama, right? So, if you want to study Bharata Raja, you study Ramaraja, because Bharata worshipped Rama. Indeed, interesting point is, of the four brothers, Lakshmana was fair, Shatrughna was fair, Bharata was dark, and Rama was dark. And in Kambaramaya, when Bharata is saying, when Rama is telling Lakshman, look, he's like me, he loves me, he's crazy about me, he will not harm us. When Lakshman gets worried, he says, this man who is of my heart and who is of my color and of my blood, he can do nothing but love me. So interesting little snippet for those who like trivia. Bharata was the dark-skinned one. So one little back to Rama Raja or Bharata Raja. I mean, look at Rama. What a wonderful guy. I mean, I keep so he's being banished, exiled for 14 years. And Kaigeyi leave. I think you should leave right away, because Kaigeyi at that point of time is fine. She says, well, leave right away. He says, what a beautiful, Kambar says, Tamarai Muham Maravile. He says, the lotus-like face he didn't miss a beat. It was still smiling. He says, okay, ma, I will leave. I'll just go and tell my mother. He goes and tells Kausalya, and before he leaves, what does Rama do? Question for the children. What he does is he goes back home, tells Sita, and Sita says, I'm coming along. He says, all right. They give away every single one of their clothes to the needy. They give away all the food that they have, because they said, let human beings eat it instead of insects and animals eating it. To Chitraratha, who was his faithful charioteer, Rama gave away 1,000 cows. He gives away all his ornaments, and Sita throws in her ornaments as well. In the Ramcharitra there's a scene where Rama and Sita are competing with each other to give their ornaments to the poor and the needy. What beautiful thinking, depth of thinking. We are in a world, we were busy comparing this bag, I have a Mont Blanc bag, you have a Louis Vuitton bag. Rama and Sita. Rama, whom Kambara as the Parampurul, not just a Maryada Purushottam, which Valmiki calls him a perfect man. But Kambar said he is nothing but Parampurul, which means the primordial Godhead beyond the Trinity, Holy Trinity of Shiva, Vishnu, primordial Godhead. That primordial Godhead is calling specific servants. So you may ask, which servants? What is Doctor talking about? He calls the specific servants who are going to look after his mother in his absence. He shows a little way. Bharata may not look after his mother as well as he should. And he gives servants a large amount of ornaments, food, and it is noted both in the Ramcharitamanas and the of monthly mother. I would like you to compare and contrast that with all our people who go away for their IT jobs, who dump their parents into some old age home. And this is Ramarajya. And I think part of the value education that Disha Bharat must do is to get our young. So that is the way Bharata also conducted himself. I'm going to move on from there and say, how did Bharata argue with of power? Bharata and Vasishta and Javali.
We are having some network issues over here.
Argument with Rama. They have a pitched battle with him. You should, and they use what's called twisted logic. This Javali and Vasishta.
So we are having some network issues. We're going to be resolving it very soon and we will be back. We want you to just be with us for just a few minutes. You know what they say about technology? Technology, it's always about Murphy's Law. So,
Sorry.
yes,
Where did you
thank you for joining us back. We were just waiting for you to join back.
Or did you lose me from the beginning itself?
No, just in between, just a few minutes back. You were saying about Bharata.
Okay, so did you get the bit about madam? The whole lecture is about Bharata.
No. Yes, we got it. What you were actually mentioning was that something you were quoting from Valmiki Ramayanam. We got that part of it, and then you went on into the temples for Bharata, and we got that also. If I think just in the last bit, you can just come back. That should be fine. Just before signing in, 2 minutes, if you go back, I think that should be fine. That can be a good cue for you.
He was talking about Kambar, then he came to Ramcharitmanas, then the line covered. Doctor, you should start with Ramcharitmanas.
Yes.
Hello? Hello? Can you get my phone?
Yes, doctor, I can hear you. I can hear you, doctor. I can hear you.
Okay. Shall
You're clear now.
Go again?
Yeah, can we start?
Okay.
From the-
So,
yeah.
yeah. Okay. So did you hear about, I just want some input. Did you hear about what Rama did before he left to Vanvas?
Yes, he gave away all the ornaments. They distributed cows to the charioteer. And then you started with Ramcharitmanas and the line went off.
As against.
I'm noting all the points,
Okay,
Doc.
cool. No. You've gotten most of it. So what I was saying was, Bharata, Vasishta, and a sage called Jabali, they tried to convince Rama to come back. And for this, the Valmiki Ramayana uses, for the first time, they tell you what is the Charaka logic. Charaka logic means twisted logic. So the sage, you can hear me? You can hear me?
Yes, doctor. Yes, doctor. When I don't hear you, I will come to you.
Great. So Charaka's twisted logic, and sage Javali tells Rama, everybody who's born is going to die. Your father is dead and gone. So you don't need to worry about what he said. Please live for the moment, come back to the kingdom. And actually, that's one of the few places where Rama is quite stern and admonishes sage Javali and says, you cannot use twisted logic. And then he tells Vasishta, what is this? He's telling me to forget about my father, forget about my mother, forget about whatever promises when they are dead. And then he says, very importantly, again, another message in the Bharata meeting Rama part, saying, whatever we promise our parents, even when they're gone, we need to consider that strongly. And he actually admonishes sage Javali for asking him to forget his father. And sage Vasishta interferes and says, no, it's because of excessive love for you that Bharata has asked Javali to speak like this. We are very, very sorry. So, and then one quick question there. Bharata, there's a lot of controversy. Did Bharata, so Rama and Lakshmana were not even there when Dasharatha passed away, right? So when Dasharatha passed away, it's only Bharata and Shatrugna. There are 2 or 3 different versions of this as to whether Bharata and Shatrugna both participated in the last rites of their father, or whether it was only Shatrugna who participated. But either way, Bharata has not given as much importance as far as the last rites are concerned compared to Shatrugna. So these are all various sort of, shall we say, historical injustices to poor Bharata. Then I want to move on from there and say stewardship of the country. How did Bharata rule Kosala, and what was his right to rule? So beautiful. His right to rule was simply his mad attachment and dedication to Rama. That's all. That was his right to rule. And it is said that how he ruled was very similar to what couple of centuries later, Chanakya wrote in the Arthashastra. In Chanakya Arthashastra, there are the qualities of leadership in which a leader should have 8 cognitive abilities. He should have 14 leadership qualities, including knowing what to say to whom. It's all there in the Tirukural, Kuriparidal, knowing people and knowing what to tell each person. Then the 4 tactics, Samadhana, Bheda, Danda, the 8 cognitive abilities, 14 leadership qualities. And it is said that Rama had all of these, and repeatedly it is mentioned in the Itihasas that Bharata had everything that Rama had. So exactly the way Rama would have conducted himself in those 14 years, the stewardship of Bharata was so wonderful. I just want to pause for a second there and compare Bharata and Rama, both fighting with each other. Bharata is telling Rama, you please rule. Rama is telling Bharata, no, you please rule. Just compare and contrast this to 17th century India, Delhi and Agra, very close to Ayodhya and Kosala, were 2 brothers, Dara Shikoh, the first man who had the Upanishads translated into Persian. Dara Shikoh and Aurangzeb were also quarreling. Dara Shikoh was telling Aurangzeb, you get lost, I want to take over. Aurangzeb was saying, you get lost, I want to take over. We had the invaders for 300 years, from 1526 Battle of Panipat to 1857, and all they did was repeated fratricide, brother killing brother, and then ruling, brother killing father, son killing father, patricide, father killing son, filicide. And here we have our classic itihasic examples of Bharata telling Rama, you rule. Although Rama simply because because he copied Rama, had every one of the cognitive or leadership or IQ, EQ qualities. And what were they? Go back, then go to the Mahabharata. Says Viduranidhi, he says, what should a king remember? It says, Tyajadekam kulasyarte. Individual person should be for the kulam here is family. I don't want this Samuga Nidhi guys to go mad. For the sake of the family, an individual man must be satisfied. Gramasyarte kulam tyajeda. Sacrifice the family in order to save the gram or the village. And then he says, Atmarte, finally he says, for gramam, when you do for janapadhyaste, which means for the larger, for the people, the benefit, you can even sacrifice a village. And finally, atmarte, for the sake of the atma, prithvi thyajate, you can even give up the entire world, the entire earth for the sake of Atma. And if you go back to our Sangha Tamil also, they said so beautifully, it says, how will a Sangha Tamil man live? How will the king live? In the Purananur is Kadalil Mind the Elam Varudi, he will say, Pugaliyanim, for the sake of rightful fame, they will do anything. Uirayum Kodupar. Pariyanin, Ulag Kedinum Kollar. Even if they get the whole world along with a little bit of a bad name, then the true Sangha Tamil, the true Bharatavarsha man, warrior, will not take it. And that is how Bharata is supposed to have held on to the leadership of Kosala. There is, I did some, data mining and research, and look, those days, there used to be some hallmarks of a poorly ruled country. These hallmarks were unnecessary killing of cows. There was another hallmark was when Brahmins were looted, when innocent women were raped, and when murder went beyond a particular level. All these are hallmarks of law and order in a particular, and the royal conduct of a kingdom. And from all the hallmarks that we have, we know that Bharata's rule was almost blemishless. Why? Why? Because unlike Ravana, who was surrounding himself by, wine and women and corporeal flesh pleasures, how was Bharata ruling? Did he rule from Ayodhya? He did not even rule from Ayodhya, because, and this is one of the reasons they say Ayodhya is cursed, because Ayodhya did injustice to Sita. Even Bharata did not rule from there. He felt he was not the rightful king or heir to Ayodhya. And so he moved to a place nearby called Nandigram. And in Nandigram, he placed the royal sandals of Rama. A quick word there. How did these sandals suddenly appear? Did he take Rama's sandals and say, no, give me your slippers, I'm taking them? There used to be a joke saying, this Rama, he left Ayodhya. This is actually quite a black humor. Rama left Ayodhya, had nothing, he had only his slippers. After Bharata came, he took away his slippers also. But that's wrong, because if you read the Valmiki Ramayana, you'll find that he had made for him sandals with gold. So why would Bharata, who had come there to make sure Rama would go back, why? You can't hear me?
You're good. You're good. You're good. I can hear you. We are good. Your connection is good.
Am I disturbing anybody's sleep?
No, go on, doctor.
No?
No, it's very interesting.
Right. So how did these sandals appear? So this is called Plan B, anticipation and planning, which are one of the 14 qualities of a leader, which is described for Rama and by default for Bharata. So what they say is, when don't expect every plan to succeed, have a plan B. So Bharata had brought, he'd not, flicked some sandals from a temple, as many people often do. He'd actually brought nicely carved wooden sandals with gold at the edges, very nicely described in the Valmiki Ramayana. He brought them, and when his plan A failed, despite Sage Javali, Bharata, all arguing forcefully, Rama didn't budge. And finally, Rama takes Bharata on his lap and says, "Sit down. Let me tell you about Rajya Paripalanam. Let me also teach you what my father taught me." And what did his father teach him? Dasaratha gave only 4 pieces of advice to Rama, just 4. He says, "You are good enough with everything, but because of your age, I'll just tell you only 4. Perhaps all these 4 were failings of Dasaratha too. You know what they say? Oscar Wilde said, "Experience is the name men give to their mistakes." So the first thing he said is, never allow your lust or your anger to make a decision for you. Ironic, because he was just mad about Kaigeyi and gave her whatever she wanted. 2, please know minute details about what's happening in your kingdom and use spies if required for that. So, and this is why we talk about RAW and CBI and ID and ET. So use spies, know minute details of what's happening. 3, he said, you never know when you'll need to feed more of your people. So always keep your treasury full. And 4th, he said, always do not allow your impulses of good or bad to take over. You must understand that it wasn't an impulse when he was saved by Kaigeyi that Dasaratha himself gave in. So these, and it was in another impulse that he shot what he thought was a wild animal, and he actually shot the parents of a hermit called Shravan. And then they are the ones who cursed him and said, "You also will die being separated from your son. You also will understand what's Putra Sogam." So the same failings that he had, he wanted to make sure that Rama didn't get it. And it is said that Rama whispered the secrets of statesmanship and royal craft to Bharata on his lap, and then he sent him along his way. So the way Bharata has conducted himself using, so those days people could do knowledge transfer. I always say 18 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, we listen to the great people like Dhananda Saraswati and Swami Sarvapriyananda and all of them speak. Takes months and months. You think though all the armies, everybody was waiting, they took me months and months? No, that knowledge transfer happened the way we download things on a pen drive, download huge files. That quick download was done by Rama to Bharata and taught him whatever perhaps he felt was a little lacking. So in terms of Bharata's conduct, he was the least aggressive of the 4 brothers. And he showed that in the way he ran Ayodhya. So how do you know he's the least aggressive? I'll tell you. Shatrugnan was supposed to be much softer than Rama Lakshmana. Rama's anger when he killed Tataka, when he killed Kumbhakarna, righteous anger, but when it would come, it would blow. Shatrugnan, when Bharata and Shatrugnan returned from Kaikeya, after all, Bharata's wife, Mandavi, was a cousin of Sita. So they came from Kaikeya. And when they came in, they saw Mandara and Kausalya. Shatrugnan goes and attacks Mandara and drags her by her hair and treats her very poorly, which is something that warriors never did. But Bharata did not do that to Kaikeyi. He saw that happening and he turns to tell Shatrugna, I feel like doing to this woman. Who's this woman? Kaigeyi. Exactly what you are doing to Mandara. But stop. Let's not do this. So Shatrughan says, This woman, this hunchback woman, she caused our father's wife and our other brother Lakshman to go to the forest. We don't know what will happen to them. How can I leave her? And then Bharata, with his deep understanding, he's supposed to be the philosopher saint of the four brothers. Very interesting. Philosopher saint. Lakshmana, completely unfit to rule. Great number two, not a good number one. Impulsive, anger, righteous anger, but very quick. Just take on the spot decisions. Not Bharata. And we have to stop, pause for a second, and admire Bharata, who tells Shatrughna, and he used the same patience when he did his, his royal stint. He tells Shatrughna, oh Shatrughna, do not harm this woman anymore, because our brother, our beloved brother Rama, will be upset with us if we harm this lady. Therefore, leave her. I feel like doing the same thing to this woman. Innal, he says in Kamban. He doesn't even say Yentai to this woman. And still, he doesn't do it. That is the kind of strength of character shown by Bharata right through. How did he do the stewardship? Throughout, he showed three things, and for that you have to visit Patanjali. So Patanjali, in his Yoga Sutra, he says, practice a few qualities so that your soul will start getting elevated. And he talks about two or three things which Bharata definitely did. One, whatever he learned, he practiced. So abhyasa. Abhyasa of what? Two important things. One is vairagya, because he did abhyasa of his vairagya, and the other thing that he did was tan nirodha. He managed to keep aside the lure of the senses. He was able to keep them aside, and he practiced what's called dispassion or vairagya. Dispassion. He didn't care. If Rama, indeed, when Bharata came as a king, he comes to meet Rama. He comes dressed simply without any ornaments. He says, how can you wear ornaments? My brother is wearing, deer skin and bark. And he says, I will also dress like you. My dear friends, for those 14 years, he never wore gold. He never wore ornaments. You couldn't find Bharata and his team queuing up on Ranganathan Street in T Nagar to buy the latest gold or jewelry or buy some sari with, gold embroidery. Somewhere, people lost that simplicity. He wore deer skin and bark, and he didn't even shampoo his hair or wash his hair. He let his locks grow, matted exactly like Rama. There is a description of Bharata, when he had completed his Rajya Paripalana, his 14 years of looking after the state. And Rama says he's lean, he has matted locks. There's a bunch of terms. I'm not that good in Sanskrit. He says Jadilam. He's Jada Jadilam. Sira Siranasanam. He looks very, very thin. Hair, weak. All he conducted the entire royal statesmanship as a caretaker government, not like the caretaker government. I'm sorry to talk politics. That's happening with Mohammad Yunus's government in Bangladesh. He really took care of the government. Not a single innocent person was killed. Hello, Mohammad Yunus. I hope you're listening. So this is what this Rajya Paripalana was all about. Then, if you look at Bharata's rule, it was significant because it was without something. It was without patre. So there's one word that says, Atrade patre, yeni utrade veede. That means, this comes in the Thiruvaimozhi. Atrade patre, I left off my unnecessary desire, but and what happens? In Utradu Veed. Veed, as you know, in Sangha Tamil means I got my heaven only because I left off my desire. And repeatedly there is mention that there was no desire in the way Bharata ruled his kingdom. And if you get rid of desire, it's the root of most evil. Go back to the Tirukkural, he says, Alkar Ava Innature, Ivainan, jealousy. Somebody asked Tiruvalvar, what is Aram? There's no direct word for Aram. Absence of Alkar, which is jealousy, absence of Abha, which is desire, absence of Veguli, which is unrighteous and uncalled for, unwarranted anger. And
Doctor, just to bring context for the viewers now, you mentioned Aram. Not many of the people who are listening will be familiar with the meaning of Aram, equivalent meaning. So can we just translate it as Dharma?
Absolutely.
Yeah? So
The
Aram,
closest, I was about to say that. The
Dharma
closest,
Tamil. Thank you. Yeah, continue, Doctor.
she's absolutely right. So, an Aram-filled existence is nothing but a dharmic existence. That's all. It's the closest is Dharma. And so, in the Tirukkural, Tiruvallur says, if you can get rid of desire, get rid of anger, get rid of very, very important jealousy, and get rid of harsh words, then that is a dharmic existence. And what Bharata did was it was a completely dharmic existence. Whatever data that's available says that he didn't put himself up in front of the four brothers, as I was mentioning. He was the least warlike. If you go through all the data, and I've been on the net, data mining, checking various things, there is only one major battle in which Bharata participated. He was not scared. For example, Mahendra Varman, a Pallava of Mahabalipuram, he was actually a Jain. He refused to fight against Vatapi. When Vatapi's people come in, Pulakesi had come from there, he said, I'm a Jain, I won't fight. That guy damaged Kanchipuram and went back. It was Narasimha Varman, son of Mahendra Varman, who went there to Vatapi and destroyed Pulakesi's forces. This was not like that. He chose fighting as the last resort, which goes back to the four dharmic tactics: Sama, Dana, Veda, and then Danda. You can negotiate Vedam. Dhanam, you can give. Samam, seek peace. Only fourth is Dandam, or use the stick. And that one battle was a battle when the Gandharvas, it's a Yuddhashita battle, when the Gandharvas felt that they were stronger than Koshala, then Rama asked him to go and fight. And Bharata led the forces of Kosala and Ayodhya to victory over the Gandharvas. And that is after Rama came back. And Rama, in his knowledge, knew that Lakshmana would refuse, but still just told Lakshmana, do you want to be the next anointed king? And Lakshmana says, oh, no, not for me. See, all of them were sensible. Each one of them knew the limits of their liabilities and their assets. And automatically, even at the end of those 14 years, it was Bharata who was given the kingdom, the throne. He was anointed as the heir apparent. I want to take all of you to there are only two known facts in Indian history, Pakka facts in Indian history, where people gave up the throne. They gave up the throne for somebody else. One was in 310 BC, when the great Chandragupta Maurya, one of my heroes, after coming up from nothing, ruling the entire kingdom, top to bottom, everything was his. He just gave up everything. He gave it to Bindisara. And he said, I'm coming down. I'm becoming a monk. And he came down and lived near Bangalore in a place called Shravana Belgola. He lived there as a monk. And when there was a famine in Magadha, which is Bihar, the great Chandragupta Maurya fasted to death along with 100 Jain monks in something that is known as Salle Khana. Salle Khana means fasting willingly and letting your life go for the sake of better something happening to somebody else. And it is said Magadha did not have a famine for hundreds of years after that because of Chandragupta Maurya. So that is 300 BC. 970 AD, same thing happened in between Tiruchi and Tanjavur. There's a great king, another great hero of mine called Rajaraja Solan. When he was about to be anointed king, he called another person and said, no, you are the rightful king. 970 AD. Gave it to him, 971. And then he ruled for 14 years before Rajaraja Solan took over finally in 985 AD. And then he ruled till 1014 AD. So this Bharata's example of saying, I'm not the king, Rama is the rightful king. This giving away never happened in Mongol history or Chinese history or English history or American history. It has happened only in Indian Bharatiya Itihasas. It has happened with Bharata and Rama, and then with Chandragupta Maurya, and then with Rajaraja Solan. I move on from there to disturb the sleep of some more of you who are listening, to say that there's only one of the four brothers is referred to as a Mahatma by Valmiki and Kambar, and that is also Bharata. It is not even Lakshmana, whose wife slept for 14 years. Urmila slept for 14 years. Sita's sister, when he was away, so that she could avoid the misery. So much he also sacrificed for Rama, but still it was Bharata who was called the Mahatma. And Valmiki says he was a Mahatma because he never thought of himself. Beautiful. And once more, I take our friends to the Tirukural, who says, if you want to be a god, it's easy. Tirukural says, Yan Yanadu Yendra Sirkarupan Vanorku Melvaikappadum. He who can cut off the feeling of I, me, and mine. My friends, 24 hours, we all live, except the sleeping hours, we're all thinking of I, me, myself all the time. How many of us stop and feel bad, say, for the people who are getting killed in Bangladesh, or for the 70,000 children all over the world who starve to death every month, or for the unfortunate pilgrims who died in Ayodhya? We think briefly, and then we are thinking about whatever, our saris, or our hairstyle, or our bindi, or our children, or our sons-in-law, or daughters-in-law. Never ending, I, me, mine. Bharata. And this is the importance of Bharata. He was able to think beyond that narrow circle of I, me, and myself. I go on from there and say, one of the ways in which Bharata is supposed to have ruled is another beautiful thing from Chanakya. You want to keep the people happy? Keep them happy. How? That Sukasyam, Moolam, the basis of happiness of the people is Dharma. The basis of happy people in a kingdom, Ramaraja, Bharataraja, is Dharma. The basis of that Dharma, Dharmasya Moolam, Artha. The place must be plentiful. There must be food for everybody. There must be our warriors protecting. There must be Artha, wealth. What is the basis of that? Arthasya Moolam, Rajyam, which means good governance, good, efficient, effective governance of a kingdom is at the base of good wealth. And Rajasya Moolam, what is at the basis of good governance? Rajasya Moolam, Indriya Jayam, which means Indriya Jayam means control of our five senses. Control of our five senses will give us governance. That governance will give wealth, and that wealth will make the people happy. And this, my dear friends, seems to be what this gentleman has continuously done in that 14 years. I want to tell you something. We all talk about telemedicine and doctors. Somebody rings up from Iraq, or someone comes from Bangladesh or West Bengal, and they're passing their reports and they're seeing them, talking to them. This man was also doing something like telegovernance, e-governance. How? Because it's very interesting that in the Ramcharitramanas and Valmiki Rama and in the Kambaramana, there's spot mentions that Bharata used to talk to Rama through his sandals. The sandals were on the throne. They had the white umbrella over the sandals. And he used to talk to the sandals, and through the sandals, he used to convey to Rama. And I don't know what system he had of choosing X or Y or Z, because it is not the sandals or the telemedicine screen, it is our bhavana. The patient on that side feels, okay, this doctor can help me, I'm going to help him. It's our bhavana, the bhavana that we choose. And his bhavana, just as Ekalavya's bhavana to Drona was looking at the statue, saying, this
Doctor?
disciple
Doctor?
God.
We are losing you, doctor.
Yes, ma'am, we start.
Yeah, we just lost you a little bit in between. The bhavana. Can you just come again from the bhavana?
Sure thing. Oh, thank God, you're making such a big difference there, Deepa. Thank you. So, bhavana is attitude. Hinduism itself is just attitude. It is attitude. You're talking to your
Doctor, I'm going to interrupt you again. Doctor, I'm going to interrupt you again. I think we again lost your connection a little bit.
I'll start again. I'll start again.
Yeah,
I'll take
sorry.
it. I mean, I don't know. What I was saying was Bharata's bhavana towards Raja Paripal, or running the kingdom, was that of a devotee to a god, a disciple to a saint. And that way he himself was a saint. The sandals represented Rama. Bharata used to talk to the sandals and get inputs from Rama through the sandals, exactly as in the Mahabharata. Ekalavya got inputs. Ekalavya got inputs from Drona's statue and learnt his archery, assuming that Drona's statue was Drona itself. So also, Bharata had the bhavana that Rama's sandals were Rama themselves. And in the Kamba Ramayanam and Valmiki Ramayanam and the Ramcharitra there are intermittent mentions that Bharata ruled, and Bharata Rajyam was Ramarajyam because he was guided by the sandals. So that's a very, very, very important aspect. Practically, I was just saying, Deepa, you all can hear me?
Yes, doctor. Yes, doctor.
Hinduism is equal to bhavana. When I operate on a patient, you're cutting somebody up and removing cancers, and there's blood all over this place, squirting and stuff. Then I am Ambal. I'm Mahishasura Mardini. I am Pratingara Devi. Durga. Blood, cut, chop. That is my bhavana. I'm playing around at home, with my mother, playing the fool. I'm Krishna. Bhavana. I want to study something to talk to you people. Last 2-3 days I was doing research. Then my ears are open, getting data, big ears. I'm Ganapati. When we deal with injustice in society, then we are Narasimha. And you're trying to run a good company or a good hospital or a good series of hospitals or whatever. Then you try to be Ramarajya. So these are all lessons that we learn from the ethics that we learn from our epics, that if Bharata could keep the sandals and do a perfect royal statecraft, if Ekalavya could do that with Drona's statue, why can't we do it with our parents' photographs, our departed parents' photograph, and say, Appa, help me do this thing, get this thing right. These are all lessons on leadership qualities for all of us. So, finally, do you have another 3 or 5 minutes? 3 minutes to 5 minutes more?
Yes, doctor. Yes, doctor. Yes. You can wrap up.
Okay. The last 3 to 5 minutes, I'll say, very interestingly, is another lesson for all of us. Big lesson for all of us. The importance of living with your conscience. The importance of sticking to dharmic ethics and principles. The importance of fighting for what you truly believe. These will give you immortality. I go back to Valluvar, and he says, Takkar Tagavilar Yenbadavaravar Yechatal Kanapadum. The way a man has lived, has it been dharmic, righteous, or has he lived badly? You can see it in his yecham. Yecham, for the non-Tamil speakers, crudely means spit. It means what you leave behind on a plate. But the real Tamil meaning of yecham is what you leave behind. It can be your principles, it can be your writings, it can be the kingdom. Most importantly, it's your kids. Your kids. They say, look at a man's kids and grandkids. You can tell whether he's lived properly. If you come to Bharata, of the 4 people, least celebrated, most saintly, least violent, most conscious and conscientious. His Bharata name is what we say, Sare Jahan se acha, Bharat Mata ki jai. We shout Bharat, we don't say Shatrughan Mata ki jai. We say Bharat Mata ki jai. King Bharata his thing is coming down. There is a lot of controversy. Is it the same Bharata as the Bharata of the Mahabharata, etc.? But the word Bharata has stuck. Look at his 2 children. He had 2 children, Taksha and Pushka. And the Afghanistan, Balochistan area, the great place of Takshila or Takshahila, great center of learning for thousands of years. It was Nalanda, Takshahila, Varanasi, and Kanchi, Nagareshu, Kanchi. That were the centers of learning. It was this Takshahila, the name was derived from Bharata's son, Taksha. So he, my dear friends, has stayed on. His idea of a stewardship country, of being a good human being, has stayed on as Bharat Mata Ki Jai. It is stayed on as Takshahila. It is stayed on as Pushkar. The place Pushkar is based on Pushka, his other son. And that way, he has truly left his footprints, his immortal footprints on the sands of time. So I've just tried to summarize, being a fly on the wall, all the data that I could dig up for as far as Bharata was concerned, and his stewardship royalty that he exercised for the 14 years. I must finish also by saying that Rama was overjoyed, and simply, we don't know whether it was to play the fool. He's supposed to have sent Hanuman to check on Bharata at the end of the 14 years, saying, he's 14 years, he's been at the head of the state. Does he really want to give back the kingdom to me? And he sees him lean, gaunt, matted locks, deer skin, barks covered with barks, and talking to the sandals, and embraces him. And one last little dart that Bharata gives Rama and says, did you after all these years think that I would take it from you? But Rama is the all-knowing one. He sees it all. And maybe it's like a Rama Leela that he played with him. A tiny little interface there between Rama and Bharata. So with this, I would like to end the mainstream 35-40 minute speech. I hope I haven't overshot, and I'm happy to take whatever questions are available. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take them. Once more, thank you, Deepa, for showing me the way and letting me know when my audio or video went off. I must thank Disha Bharat. What a wonderful organization. I've been reading up about you guys. Fabulous. And thank Dr. Venkatamani again for giving this opportunity. The 4 qualities that Bharata has, every mother must want her son to have. It's called Anbu, Naan, Oppuravu, Kannottam. It says, Aindu Salbu Undriya Thun. 4 things. Anbu, love for the people, love for your brothers, love for everyone. Naan means feeling ashamed of a slur being cast upon you. He was so ashamed that Kaikeyi asked the throne for him when he was not even interested in that. Third is Oppuravu. Oppuravu means treating people with love all around. And fourth is Kannottam, compassionate perspective. These are the they're the pillars of a virtuous life.
Super.
And of course, He says, there are actually 5 pillars. Otherwise, why my truth? He never lied. He didn't want the throne. He didn't fight for it. Why my? That is, goodness and virtue rests on these 5 pillars. And today, we've been happy to discuss a person who truly represents those 5 pillars. Talking about him, reading about him in some way will make us also follow in the noble steps of our elders. Thank you all once more.
Thank
Jai
you,
Hind.
Doctor.
Jai Bharat.
Thank you, Doctor. I just have a couple of questions for you. But before that, let me just quickly point out some of the things that are from your talks, which was like very appealing and very interesting for all for us, all of us listening. Well, the 4 qualities that you mentioned, the advice that Dasharatha to begin with, that was very, very nice. Bringing out the message of what statesmanship and royal craft is. And of course, your Patanjali's quotations on Abhyasa and Vairagya as the 2 salient things that is required for reaching the state of Nirodha. And of course, the Tiruvayuri quotes were very, very enlightening. What was even more enjoyable was how you related it to historical events in ancient times, whether it was Chandragupta Maurya's time or in the medieval times with Rajaraja Chola. And going beyond that, how can we take this and apply it in our life as to, like bringing in the form and taking the essence of the form and how we can apply those essence, whether it is Durga or Ganesha or Vishnu. All these things was very, very, very interesting. You made it very, very relatable for us. But before we, because there's a wide audience that you're actually speaking to, and you are well versed in Kamba Ramayanam, so I would like to ask you from the perspective of, there is a time gap from where Valmiki had written, and then there was a gap, and then Kamba had written, and then there is Tulsidas chronologically. So if we have to read these 3 texts in from a chronological point of view, there's a treatment of the way in which the bhavanas for Rama and Bharata that was sketched by Valmiki, how was it treated differently by Kamba? And then when it came to Tulsi's Bhakti era, how did the shade change? If you could just throw some light on that, that would be really nice.
Beautiful question, actually. Academic, but beautiful question. So basically, Bharata's significance seems to, in the scenes that he comes in, the number of scenes that Bharata comes in is actually, sadly, limited to those 4 or 5 scenes only. But you're right, actually, Deepa, that compared to Valmiki Ramayana, in the Kamba Ramayana, which is in the 13th century, the number of stanzas that are given to Bharata are definitely more in the Kamba Ramayana. For example, the praise of Bharata by Rama, when Bharata is approaching with the horses and men, Lakshmana is watching him from Chitrakoot, from a tree. He comes running down and he raises dust by running to Rama and says, bloody chap is coming, I'm going to kill him, and then I'm going to kill his mother as well. We should, not only has he taken over the kingdom, he's coming to try to finish us off. You wait, you go inside. And first thing he does is he puts out the fire because he says it'll give away, the smoke will give away. So there's very clear intent of Lakshmana to fight. This is there in both Valmiki Ramayana and Kamba Ramayana. But then, what in Valmiki Ramayana, what he talks about Bharata, all good stuff. But there's much more in Kamba Ramayana, where, for example, he says, he has my blood. See, he has my color of the 4 of us. There's nothing that he can do. He's incapable of doing any harm to anyone. He's a man who has conscience on his sword. Even the sword will not kill a person wrongly. That's what Rama says about Bharata. So, and in the Ramcharitamanas, again, there's a lot of elevation of Bharata's character. It almost seems that although historians have by and large, and literateurs, by and large, sidelined or Cinderellaed or Bangalore, if you like, Bangalore, Bharata a bit. The main three mainstream people, no, they have given it in Ramcharitamanas. There's extra also on Bharata, Bharata Katha, and in Rama Katha, talking even more about him and how he could fight very well and how he showed his qualities. Rama says in Ramcharitamanas, he will show his qualities at the right time. And there's a reference in the to the later part of the Ram Katha where Bharata fights the Gandharvas. So there's a lot of, there's also little mention in Ramcharitamanas, which is otherwise a very hagiographic, eulogizing. When you read Ramcharitamanas, it's, oh my gosh, Rama, you're like this, Rama, like this, Rama's eyes just moved, and the flowers fell down. It's very hagiographical. But there is still a considerable amount given. It is almost, Deepa, as if these three, following two people, decided to give a little bit more importance to Bharata in the various parts of the Ramayana. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, yes, thank you. Another question is about the foot imprints. Bharata had taken the Paduka and he had worshipped it. Now, can you just throw some light on how the foot imprint has always been a symbol of worship and is continuing to be a symbol of worship even today for us, like Hindus? When we're talking about Vishnupada or even Gaya Kshetra. Yeah. Just if you want to add anything more onto it, yeah.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, no, and now I can hear you.
Okay. So, Swami Vivekananda, he was in Rajasthan, and he was mentioning about how objects, pictures, or idols, or even padukas can be objects of worship. There is pictures, and somebody said, what is this? How can we worship a picture? So he took his, that Maharaja of Ajmer of Goa, he took his picture and he said, shall I spit on it? The guy said, if you spit on it, we'll have to kill you. And he said, why? Because you're insulting our king.
Doctor, I need to interrupt you. I need to interrupt you. Can you just come again? Object of, yeah.
He said, you have brought your king into this object, into this picture. This picture represents your king. For me, similarly, picture of Devi Mata represents that primordial force. So similarly here, the Padukas represent Rama. And I think, although there are some other, the Abrahamic boys will say they don't believe in objectification.
Form worship, yeah.
Form worship. Although, they do worship the crucifix and for what it represented. So also, this objectification, these are very important kind of terms. The objectification of devotion is through the Padukas. And I think this is a classic example where Kambar and Valmiki and Ramcharitamanas talk about, he's talking to the Padukas as if you see a Three Idiots movie in a lighter vein, the chap talking, and it is quite believable that every object can represent of the so-called subaltern movement. That is, we don't believe this. The subaltern / woke movement that doesn't correspond to objectification. I think this is a classic example. If great Bharata, could do that with the great Rama, why can't you and I have somebody's padukas? Why can't we go to Kanchipuram and touch the padukas of Mahapariva who's there? It's the same.
Super. Thank you so much. That was very nice. I think we have another question from Vijayashri, ma'am.
Doctor, I would like to ask you a question about, you told about stewardship by Patanjali, which is Abhyasa, Tan, and then dispassionate nature. Can I, these are the three things. It's like saying Vairagya is for the mind. Tan it should be lure free or lust free. And then dispassionate is regarding the heart. Can I say it's mind, body, and heart alignment?
Yes, mind, body, and heart. Yeah, it's fair enough. That's fair enough. The last part is, of course, tan nirodha. So even if we take the Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, the second of the Yoga Sutras, he says, chitta vritti nirodha, or the waves of the citta. Once we are keep away this, so that we are then on to a situation where we have Sthita Prajna, which of course Bhagavad Gita also talks about. Sthita Prajna, or equanimity in the face of happiness or woe. So yes, mind, body, and senses is a very nice way of putting it, Vijayashri.
Thank you, thank you. I think, yes. With that, thank you so much, Doctor. It's been a very enlightening session. Bharata's trusteeship, model of responsible leadership for modern times. You've thrown quite a bit of light on many areas. I'm sure we've gained a lot from this particular talk. We'd like to thank you for your talk today. And I'd like to also extend my thanks to the audience who are attending this session. Thank you so much for signing up and for your time. I'd want to extend my thanks to the Disha Tech team who are handling the technology. Thank you so much. With that, we are coming to another end of the Disha Bharat's Ethics from Epics series. Thank you so much.